Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 27. We're switching things up. I'm taking over Jonas's job. Let me let you meet my friend Jonas over at Turf Badgers. This is my friend Brandon Peterman. Down, I don't know if it's below. On my screen, it's below. All right. Go ahead, Jonas.
No, you're good. You did great. Welcome to the podcast, episode number 27. We decided to switch things up a little bit. Instead of doing some interview style, we're just going to do more like questions and answers of things that we always run across. Same people, same problems, same things over and over again. Figured to just try something different. And we put this together when we were in Florida last week. Brandon and I were at Patrick Bet-David Sales Leadership Conference, and we just got to talk like what would be really good for the podcast. And I was like, I'd really just love to sit down and just like have a group of us and just talk about some of the common questions that we get asked all the time. And Brandon's like, yeah, I think that'd be awesome. And then he's like, well, we should get Brassiel on or vice versa. And I was like, yeah, it'd be awesome. So I called Brassiel. He's like, yeah, I'd love to. And then it took us a few days to figure it out, dealing with a bunch of quick starts. And we said, hey, let's just do it today real quick. Do it at 1 o'clock. You're like, guys are like, all right, let's just do it. So again, they both run successful companies. They're actually, I met them both at the same time. They live, stone's throw away from each other. Different industries, same industry with different service types. So yes. Bring them both back on. Said they're good friends. We're all, best friends, and thought we'd just try something a little bit different and run a podcast this way. So welcome to the podcast, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And so we were talking about a lot of things before this. And I brought like a list of questions, like maybe 30 questions or so, that we could just kind of start off by talking about. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is something that's new, relatively new the last 2 to 3 months, seeing if you guys are using it inside your companies or not. And Brandon probably knows what I'm going to talk about. Jason might not, but are you guys using ChatGPT for anything inside the company at this point?
Yes.
All right, let's start out with that. Let's go with Brassiel.
It's funny that I learned about ChatGPT probably a week or two after it came out. And I just started messing with it. Like, I would go on there and be like, write me a song about going to the lake with a dog and a 16-foot boat with my friend Jonas in there skiing. And it would literally, I want 4 verses, I want chords, everything. It would write me an entire song. So then I really started going back on, I would say, okay, for Brassiel Landscaping, I want to make a Facebook post or an email about an urgency for doing a spring cleanup. So then it would be like, urgent, because you need to clean up your leaves because this, and this, because if you don't, then it's going to cause this, and this. And it was actually funny because the main thing about ChatGPT is even if you don't use what they did, it just did research for you to help you even kind of like, oh yes, I forgot myself. Like, yeah, if we let these leaves decompose on the grass, it's going to, change the soil conditions, whether it be positive or negative, not knowing if it's pine needles, there's going to be too much acid, or if, the different types of leaves and stuff like that. And I found out that information starting using ChatGPT. And I will say that we are using it to kind of like create a Facebook post for this. And then we take it and we modify it to actually fit. But it basically makes it where like the post can happen faster and more conveniently with that. But also saying that, I also discovered that there's so much more AI that was out there because of that. Like there's even deals that you can edit this video. It'll automatically edit all your podcasts and everything for you.
Yep.
And all this stuff. So when ChatGPT came out, I thought it was the only one. And since then, I found out there's 20 other that are available for other things.
Yeah, for sure. All great content right there. Like we use it for marketing, we use it for lots of stuff. But I'll let Brandon talk next. I know Brandon and I talked about this last week too. Brandon?
So I personally don't use it very much. I've only been on the platform a few times, but everyone in my office uses it on a regular basis, from writing emails to writing employee ads. Our videographer, when he's putting up content, he uses it. Our operations manager is using it to put content out to respond to a lot of the emails and texts and stuff that he gets. We're every department we have is using it, and they're all using it in their own way. I personally haven't used it very much because I haven't really needed to, because all the departments are using it.
Yeah, that's cool. When we were down in Florida, they were saying that they used it to link with their CRM and in Gmail, and then when it got the email, it would read the email off. It would make a response to that email automatically, and then all like the owner would have to do is read it real quick. Was going to send it, just send it off.
Yeah, when he was talking about that, that was super cool. I took some notes on that for sure.
And then I was reading an article last night, and someone made a call script where it would answer the phone like a CSR. So during night and weekends, ChatGPT would answer the phone and be able to talk with the customer. And I was like,
I haven't gotten that far yet.
So, and I haven't either, but I just saw it was on, actually, I think it was on Tommy Mello's, one of his groups. So they've been messing around with it for the past few months, created an AI that'll answer phone calls anytime you want, but after hours. It was for a restaurant, actually. In the restaurant, they were just like taking, if I remember the story correctly, they were taking notes and putting on notepads, and then they would get so busy during the day that they can't answer the phones. So this guy made AI that answer the phones and take notes. I'm like, that is absolutely incredible. So this is going to go a long ways here soon.
I mean, it's getting so crazy that you could employ 4 people with your company, and that's all they did is mess with AI and Chat GPT, all of that, and you still won't even know the ends of what it can do.
Yeah, we use it for offer letters. Actually, last week I used it for a non-soliciting agreement. I sold part of this company that did mowing and stuff that I had acquired, and I just needed a non-solicit agreement. So I just wanted to see what it would do. I didn't actually use that one because I had one. I was like, hey, ChatGPT, write me a non-solicit agreement for this company to this company. And it wrote like a all-out non-solicit agreement. It looked like a lawyer wrote it up like that. It wrote it up as like, that's incredible. So I've used it for just about everything. Pretty cool. Obviously, you guys saw my questions before, and I figured we'd start out. I mean, this is a super easy one, and this is not going to be for everyone in the podcast, but a lot of people that watch the show are smaller, and they're learning from people like us that are ahead of them, kind of like we did, right? But you always see the people who get stuck. Go ahead, Brandon.
What do you think the revenue is on the smaller companies? It's like, I know you're going to want to talk to us quite a bit about, helping the smaller company out, but what does that mean? Does that mean they just started this year? Does that mean they've been 5 years in and figured out how to get to 100,000? What does that mean, so I can understand how to maybe answer a few of your questions?
Good question. So maybe we could like target specifically when we're talking to those people, but I've seen anywhere from, 2 years, just starting out 2 years ago, doing $150,000-$160,000 revenue, up to 900,000 revenue, been in business 12 years, up to almost 2 million, young, just started 4 or 5 years ago, but really pushing hard. So, but they're still learning, right? So they've been in business for only a few years, but they're still learning. They might be in a really, really good market where the services are just easier to sell, or, pricing, things like that. I know one guy that was doing like a couple $1 million in revenue, doing a 1% profit margin. So we hit on all this stuff. So it's all out there, but let's just start from scratch. We see it all the time. How many forums we see where they say, when should I hire my first technician? Everything that we've ever been taught was to get out of the truck as fast as possible. But you guys know what it's like being stuck in that truck too, right? Like, you're doing everything. You're doing like $200,000, $250,000 revenue. Maybe you in a part-time guy or something. But when do you guys? And this is going to be some debate. Like, I think we're all going to have different answers. And I think that's what's going to be fun about this podcast, is that I'll give a different perspective from every one of us that have been through it. But when do you hire your first tech, or when do you hire your first, employee? And what is that? What is the first employee you hire? To you guys?
So for me, like,
it was just
I would say that our primary business is still maintenance, where we're mowing yards, cutting hedges, cleaning flower beds and stuff like that. And I hired someone I was still driving the truck and someone was sitting passenger at probably about $125,000. And I'd probably say I hired a second one probably around 200,000. And then as you go up from there, then you have to start splitting into different trucks and, stuff like that. But I really would say for me, I had to hire someone that could like learn how to edge and weed eat and push mow and, stuff like that, not knowing which direction your company was going. But I was still running the truck. Now, if the question is, when do I start a crew that I am not on it? I would probably say for my business, it would probably been about $300,000 when I actually had a second truck come online with two guys in it and usually I would say like, if I was at 200 and I had two guys with me, I would be training those guys to then take over that second truck. And then I would bring two more trainees in my truck. That's kind of where I am, but I know that all three of us run completely different businesses because I know neither of you do landscaping or lawn care. I do landscaping and lawn care and weed control as an add-on, where you guys are the complete opposite industry as I am.
Yeah. Brandon?
So I think that this is kind of a hard, it's more of a tricky question. It's like, what do you want out of, what's your 5-year goal? What's your 10-year goal? If I'm starting tomorrow, I'm hiring my buddy real quick. Like, we're both going to do it that way that I can keep pushing it. I can't grow the company if I'm not, if I don't have anyone to help me do it. Like we pull up in a truck and the phone's ringing. I don't want to be sitting in the truck, trying to get to the yard to do. I want my helper, whoever I hire to go do the yard while I'm answering the phone, taking on the next call and signing that next customer up. So, for me, I would hire now, like, go ahead and get it going. But weed control and fertilization, we were able to, do one truck and get it going, up to about the $300,000, $400,000 mark, before we even started the second truck. And then it was a very easy transition for us. We grew that all the way up to, I think I was close to $1 million before I even went into the office. So, I stayed out there running trucks with the guys up until then. But of course, we're one man, one truck, the weed control and fertilization side.
Yeah. So when you went back into the office, you said you know $1 million roughly, right? So you probably doing the math, you did 250,000 revenue. So you basically had 4 trucks, you're saying, before you got out of the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we were at 3 or 4 trucks because I'd kind of half and half, around the 3 truck mark. Once we hit the 4 truck mark, I was office full time. But I was still out in the field when I hired someone for the office, though.
Yeah, let me ask you this now. Going back to both of you guys, going back to that spot in the business, what would you have done differently, or maybe not? Maybe you guys wouldn't have done anything different. What would you guys have done different?
Oh man, the funny thing is for me is, I ran a very conservative because I didn't really understand growth and I didn't really know where I wanted to go and I didn't have a path. So we've been in business for 26 years and the first 20 of those was really just 2 trucks, 1 to 2 trucks. And because I had no direction, I had no will to like kind of figure out because I didn't know what I didn't know what I didn't know. So if I was to jump back and I would try to, now all these podcasts and everything are so available, I would start learning substantially earlier because I guarantee you right now I'd have a $50 million company if I basically wasn't starting as a baby 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. Starting all over, obviously when you start, you're broke. So it's hard to say what I would do starting all over because, like right now I have money in the bank, so I can kind of make random choices. But yeah, just stay in the field as long as you can. I see tons of people that hear podcasts like this, get out of the field, get in the office. They don't realize that means around the 750 to $1 million mark. Then you should start transitioning. They're thinking, oh, I'm at 400,000. I need to not be in the field, and I need to be in the office. No, you're gonna go broke. Like you had all the money that's coming. Like I've seen it 100 times around here in the city we live in. All these guys that, oh, well, I'm not doing anything anymore. I've got 2 trucks and they're running it. And the next thing you know, they're in so much debt over their eyes they can't figure it out. It's because they chose not to work. You have to work until the money is correct, until the profitability is correct. Stay your ass in the field, and then once you can afford to pay yourself, and I'm talking a normal wage, I'm talking 50 grand a year, and that's it. Then you can pull yourself in the office, and don't overpay yourself. That's a lot of people mess up with that too. They start overpaying and overpaying and overpaying, and then they end up getting way in debt. And it's just you got to pay yourself minimal until you can grow past the $1 million, past the $2 million, past the $3 million. Like, don't go buy stupid shit.
Yeah.
There's so many times that me and Brandon have had conversations with people that, they're like, let's just say at $300,000, and they're like, yeah, we're running 2 trucks and I'm running the office and I'm paying myself $100,000 a year. And I'm like, you shouldn't have $100,000 to pay yourself.
The math doesn't add up.
Yeah. Like your company's going negative. And then, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I have $50,000 in credit card debt and I don't understand what's happening. Well, it's because you're freaking paying yourself too much because you're living like you're running a multi-million-dollar business and you're not. And, like being an entrepreneur is a struggle in itself. And, like we're all quick starts. So we have to kind of like hold ourselves to reason to a certain point. So, you have to even kind of, like before I still make a big decision, I still try to reach out to someone. And my wife is not a quick start, so I'm not supposed to brainstorm with her. So I usually call one of you guys or something, be like, hey, what do you think about this decision? Just randomly. And a lot of times you're like, that's stupid. Why would you ever do that? And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to backtrack. So I also would say that I would probably have an accomplice, like a friend or something that I could reach out to earlier. Because really, once again, I really thought I was like hardcore the first 20 years. I thought I was the biggest company in the city, and I am the far smallest company in the city 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say something a little bit different because my business is different than your guys' business. So I know where my time, even if I could turn back the clock, which I did in 2020, right? Like, okay, where is my time best spent? Is my time best spent servicing, or is my time best spent selling? I can hire a guy for $15 to $20 an hour and service the jobs behind me that I sell. And I know my margins. I know where I have to be. Maybe back 12 years ago, I didn't know that, so I can't say that. But if I just spent all day long knocking doors, doing marketing, doing sales, and I'm selling, let's just say 10 to 15 jobs per day, and I'm having a technician making $15 an hour, like that's where I'm going to spend my time. So I'm going to try to get out of the truck day one. I'm not going to be in that truck. I'm going to hire a technician. I'm going to go sell like crazy, right? But that's my business model. It's a little bit different than your guys's. But that's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to hire a technician. I'm just going to go knock doors. I'm going to go talk to people. I'm going to go to B&I. I'm going to go to all those networking groups and see how many people that I can get sold in my first year. Let's just say it's 300-400 customers in year one. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm still answering phone calls then, or, Ian and Brandon kind of mentioned running back to the truck, answering calls. And I feel like probably most of us, or us on the call, like probably did a good job in the beginning, at least calling people back from voicemail. This is a lot different 10 years ago, right? Where there wasn't so many businesses to call. There wasn't the Google and all that stuff. It was so super easy. But I always went back to my truck. I always listened to my voicemails. I always called people back, and I took notes. I was really good at that. But that's my model. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, starting over, I'm just going to go knock doors and go sell people.
I
also feel like it's a little different for you now because you have like some cash to back you up.
But even if I didn't, I would. Even if I didn't have any cash, I would know that I could go out there and I could go sell jobs to create revenue instantly and pay my guy. But 10 years ago, I didn't know that.
No, I understand, but like 10 years ago, you weren't financially sound. You didn't have your house where it is. You didn't have your family where it was. And you didn't, you still have to pay yourself something. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that you probably could have, like, I don't know if you could have done that 10 years ago if you had that knowledge you have now. Not saying that you wouldn't have done it faster than what me and Brandon could have, but I still feel like it's kind of a hard line there to not exactly know.
I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say this is a great debate because I 100% agree with Jonas. If you got a technician that you've already trained that can do it and you can hit the doors while he's doing it, yeah, you're going to make the money and you're going to make the clientele. The difference in like me or you is we're not like, I mean, he's catching, we're fishing. So the way we do our marketing, the way we do everything, we're just fishing. He's out there just catching. So little bit different of models, but yeah, I 100% agree with what he says. Like if we all have the same mindset that we do now, and we're starting all over with $0, how would we do it? Yeah, I agree with Jonas 100%.
Because I don't have the marketing money. Like I don't have the stuff to go every door direct mail or Google or online or Facebook advertising. Like I don't have the money. So where can I go get customers for free? Well, I can go talk to them at these places, Maybe B&I costs $600 for the year, but you're still going to get 10 to 15 customers a year from there. It's relatively inexpensive.
It's kind of funny because my one of my sons, 16, he just turned 17. And then last year I had this with my other son. He was like, I'm going to go mow yards. I'm like, all right, cool. Go mow yards, dude. You get it. And he's like, can I borrow your mower and this and that? I'm like, yeah. How are you going to do it? I'm going to print out some flyers. All right. Print out some flyers. You going to go hand them out? Ended up never handing them out. Got like 2 or 3 yards by word of mouth, whatever. So then my other 17-year-old, they're twins. He's like, hey, I'm going to start a power washing business. It's like, all right, do it. How are you going to do it? Like, what's the plan? He's like, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy this power washer and this tip and this nozzle and do this thing and this trailer. Cool. Who you going to power wash? Who? I don't know. I'm going to have, y'all put stuff on Facebook for me. And I'm like, nope. You can and then I'd had to start teaching him from like day one, like how to market, how to put your name out there, how to start your own page so that it can be shared, not mommy and daddy saying, hey, ask my son to power wash or whatever. So I literally just had this talk with both of my sons, pretty recently, and they don't quite understand that. And so I'm going from step one with them right now of what to do.
Sweet.
There's even free things like start a Google account. It's free.
Yeah.
Knock it out.
Google local service, right?
Yeah. Go. Yeah.
But how many people don't have that?
I know there's been at least 3 guys in our service area that have asked me to, mentor them. And none of them have a website, a Google My Business, a Facebook page, a CRO. I even had one guy go, how do you do your routing? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, how do you route? It's so confusing, whatever. And I was like, my CRM does it. And he's like, what's a CRM? Dude has like a $300,000 company, which is decent, and he's still in it and running it. But he has no clue. He's my age too. He's actually like 43 years old. He's like, what's a CRM? And I was like, all right, man, here, you gotta start understanding some stuff. Here's a few podcasts. Here's a few books. Like, you've got to start really researching what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, we can go down this road next. But the CRM, because that's one of the questions I have. Brandon, you and I were just in Florida talking to that guy from New York. We did quick math. You and I. That company's doing roughly 25 million.
Yeah, something stupid.
They've been in business since the 60s.
60s or 70s. It was passed along generational, and they're still using pen and paper.
We're mind blown. But so We
What
see
did
it
he
all the
do?
time.
Roofing or something?
No, they did HVAC.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, HVAC. That's right.
And we don't
Yeah,
like we know the service industry, so we're like, yeah, jump onto this platform. You know, like you have to go like look at this one, like go there.
Yeah.
And whether he did or not, who knows? But he wanted to come there to learn because he's younger guy, like a little bit younger than us. But his dad was old school, like from the Bronx, and like they really hard to, like very what's the word I'm looking for, like what?
Very strict, stern,
Yeah.
very masculine. He was the man, and we're doing it my way.
Yeah, you figure people like New Yorkers, right? That's just like their attitude,
Yeah.
and that's exactly how he presented his dad. And he's younger, knew there's things out there to like streamline their business, and he's coming there to learn.
Well, and the thing is he didn't even know the word CRM. He just came up to talk to us about schedule, like, and we're, just scheduling or dispatching or amount of people he has in his office and kind of the way they do it. And we just kind of both looked at him like, what CRM do you use? And he was like, we don't have one. What? It's like, so what do you do? And he's like, well, we have to call into the office and then they have to look up the part and then they have to call this place and they got to figure all this out. And I was like, so how do you even get them the right part, the right time? Like, how do they pay? Like, and their AR was like out of whack, if I remember right. It was a mess.
So, which will bring up my question to you guys: when do you implement a CRM? Like, what day? Is it day one? Is it day?
If I could have implemented a CRM at $100,000, I could have skyrocketed so much faster. I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that I've done in the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, but let's just go, like, how much is like is it the yard book and those ones free? Like, I don't remember how much it costs. Like Jobber, things like that. Aren't those pretty inexpensive?
So, I'm using Service Autopilot now, but I was using Lawn Pro, and it was $120 a year. So that's $10 a month.
Yeah.
Which is what I was using before. But I also didn't, I was switching from pen and paper to that.
Same.
And I used that for probably a year and a half before I switched over to the Service Autopilot. But, man, if I could have even put in the technology 10 years ago, my gosh, that literally changed my life dramatically. I mean, it made it where people could see their own stuff, logging into the portal. It made it where we could do billing better. I estimate that I was doing about $60,000 worth of free services a year because I wasn't billing for it before I got the CRM. Just when you even go to the old lady's house, it's like, oh, cut my hedges while you're here. And, it's like, okay, it's $40. And then you forget to bill them for that. Because, you're just trying to track it on a piece of paper or whatever. And it's like, it's just crazy how much money you're losing because you don't want to spend, $100 a month to have an actual CRM.
So what's the answer? Is it day one? Is it 100,000 revenue?
I would probably start it as soon as you have proof of concept of the business that you're doing.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I mean, because theoretically day one, but is it a side hustle or is it a business?
Right.
If it's a side hustle, then do you. But if it's a business and you're going all in, then go all in.
Yeah.
CRM, start all your marketing correctly, start getting everything lined out, get your phone line. To me, that's important too. Like, don't use your cell phone. There's so many lines out there. There's Google phone numbers and everything you can kind of start with.
Yeah. So if you're doing 150,000 in revenue, do you stop what you're doing right now and that's the first thing you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could
absolutely.
This could go down a rabbit hole, but like, think about it. Like, you go on to most people have QuickBooks these days, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're going on QuickBooks, and whether they're emailing or printing off invoices, getting snail mail, getting stamps, putting stamps and everything, sending them out. Well, then, so that's your time, right? Invested. And then you're waiting for your money to come back, which usually when you send off a paper invoice, it's going to take a minimum of a week to come back, but probably 2-3 weeks, maybe a month. You're constantly waiting on cash.
When I first started out, I was Excel and I was pen and paper. Then I went to Excel, and it was Excel and QuickBooks, and it was just a double entry nonstop. It was taking up way too much time at the end of the day, and then I had to redo my list and reprint it back out for the next week. I think I lasted till maybe like 300, 400,000 before I swapped over. And I was just like, whoa, I should have done this 10 times sooner. I think I had, and I still have the list on my computer. It's kind of funny. But I think I had like 350 weed and fert customers that I was trying to manage that way. So we'd do their property, and then we had like X amount. And then at the end of the day, I'd go home and I'd have to put every single one of them into QuickBooks just to generate, the money portion of it.
Yeah. I just had a call last week. Same scenario. Still doing the same thing. 160, 170,000 revenue, and just doing it all in spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Round 1, round 2, round 3. I'm like, time to move on. Like, it's well worth spending the money. Like, you're losing, like Jason said.
It's funny because a lot of people want to try to use QuickBooks as a CRM and do their stuff from there. And then when they finally decide that it doesn't do what they need, it doesn't do routing, you can't do emails, you can't, like, there's so much it can't do. Then all of a sudden they're in this pickle because it probably got them to 500,000, but now it's a mess to try to backtrack and put all that information into a CRM.
And I think that a lot of people are confused and assume that QuickBooks is a CRM. It is not a CRM. A QuickBooks is for your financials. It's for your CFO to use and get your financials in place and look at profit loss. Half the people that use QuickBooks as their CRM, if you will, don't even know how to pull reports anyways. Like they're so confused on what they're even doing. They're just using it for invoicing and their customers' names. And, I've had several talks with people. I'm like, hey, what CRM do you use? And they're like, QuickBooks. And I'm like, no. Like, you're confused, man. Let me help you out.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the next subject. This will be really quick, I think, but let's just knock these two out because we get asked this all the time. Get it out of the way. What brand of equipment do you use? And do you wrap your
Don't care.
Okay.
So I have a complicated answer to that. First thing, it doesn't matter what brand you use. I would pick whatever brand is you can buy from the lawnmower shop that you prefer to use. Now, I also will say that we did make a pretty drastic change a couple years ago when we switched from the sit-down ZTRs to the standard lawnmowers. And, Toro has standards, but they are not equipped to do what we want. They take up too much space. We were having a difficult time getting Toro parts correctly. Like, they don't have like an open source where you can look up parts and stuff like that as easily as some others. So we actually made a switch to write for our standards. Now, do I think those are good for you? No idea. Toro does make a great piece of equipment. We only made a switch because the availability of parts, how we can get them, and stuff like that. But yeah, I really could care less. Like, I mean, I am a little partial to buying like Honda motors, but not Honda mowers, because I don't like Honda mowers. But yeah, really, whoever you have service your stuff, whatever they sell is what you should probably be buying.
Yeah, my answer to that is whoever can get me the equipment the fastest, whoever can keep my equipment running the longest, and give me the best service. I don't care what brand you have. Just give me whatever equipment you have and make sure you take care of us.
It's a reasonable price. Like, people getting into I want to choose Honda, or I want to choose this truck, or who cares? Just go do it. Does it cut? Sure, then use it. Does it spray? Then use it. Like, as long as it works correctly, as long as you have someone who can service it, like it's down the street. Like, I mean, 2 years ago, it's funny, we were going up to Home Depot to buy blowers just because I didn't want to go to the mower place, and I knew Home Depot had an abundance of them. Who cares? We just blowing fert. Do they start up? Yep, blow it. Go. Like, we're done.
Yeah,
like,
and then obviously,
when it comes to that, I don't care.
Yeah, and as you scale in your 20, 30 trucks, and you have big fleet accounts, things tend to change there because you get fleet discounts, things like that, and start working with a banker, like a commercial banker. Those things change, but day one, just go grab your stuff and go. I literally had this question. That's why it's on here last week. Company doing 900,000 in revenue, asking which spreader they should buy. I'm like, it doesn't matter to me. Just go buy one. whoever can give you the best service, just go pick that one up.
Yeah, make sure it's a commercial spreader. Don't go to Home Depot and buy a spreader.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
and I will say, like, even when it comes to like lawnmowers and stuff, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this Toro one is only 6,000, where the other one is 10,000." No, you're not comparing apples to apples. Like, if you have a $10,000 Toro rider and a $10,000 Wright rider, they're going to be the exact same rider. And I'll tell you right now, like, you even open the hood, probably the hydraulic pumps are even the same brand of hydraulic pumps. It probably has the same Kohler motor on them. It's really all about the service. So, but yeah. So, and I'd say the same thing with a spreader. If you're buying a $600 spreader versus a $600 spreader, they're probably pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you buy a $300 and a $600, they're probably completely different.
Yeah. So we got past that question pretty easily.
Yep.
Next one is again, common question: should I wrap my truck, and when should I wrap my truck?
Can I start this one?
Yes.
Because this is one I messed up a long time ago, and I just drove a regular truck, and we mowed way back when, and I just put a little sign on the trailer. And if I'd have known then what I know now, I would have painted it, I'd have wrapped it, I'd have done something day one, because that is the first sign of marketing, is just wrap your truck or paint your truck, sticker your truck, brand it. And my opinion is, like, we had a white truck. We had it for so long, and we just blended in. Like, don't do white. Pick a color. Pick a color, any color. Just make sure it's a color. Don't care.
Yep.
Something that sticks out in your area. Drive around your area, and if, like, we have OG&E here. They have 20,000 trucks that run the city, and they're orange. I'm not picking orange. Like, I don't want to blend in with OG&E. Like, so I'm going to pick another color for my company. All of our trucks are blue. They're all wrapped blue. All the stickers white, and very minimal stickers. Not a lot of design, not a lot of graphics, just blue trucks, white stickers.
Yeah.
We kept ours very simple.
I don't list my services. Mine literally just say Prosper Landscaping, phone number, and then I think on the bottom corner it has our website.
I think you have like Instagram, Facebook logos, right?
Yeah, it does have like the little logos for the social media, but like it doesn't say like sprinkler repair, mulching, lawn care, commercial, residential, because I don't want to confuse people when I'm driving through an intersection at 40 miles an hour. I want them to be able to get the information they need and go on.
What's the first thing that the consumer is going to do when they see your truck?
Google you.
Yep. It doesn't matter if you list other services, or even at this point, having your phone number? Probably not.
Yeah, I would say it's doubtable that you even need to have a phone number on the truck if you have an online presence.
Yeah.
So sure. I also will say that a lot of guys that are
good point
under $250,000 don't even have any sort of online presence. So then you probably still need at least to have a phone number.
Yeah.
But
I say the same thing. Like, we don't have Mako around here, but most big cities have a Mako. You can go get your truck painted for $500.
I think we pay $450 or something stupid.
Yeah. And then for me, we have all white trucks. We wrap ours, with the pink and blue, anywhere from $800 to $1,800, all the way up to the big vans are like $3,800 or something like that. But yeah, from day one, I'm just gonna go spend the $400. I'm gonna paint that thing a different color and put a name on it.
$300, sticker it, you're done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So same thing. This question, I think it will be fun, because I think it's going to have a pretty big debate, because we've talked about this before. When do you guys hire your first CSR?
So I think it all is contingent on your business plan and your growth scale and stuff like that. Now, for me, we are 65% commercial. And so therefore our customers' value per year is substantially higher than if you're doing all residential. So for me, I hired my first one at about 750, and I probably say I should have hired someone probably around 500.
I'm trying to think. I think we were closer to the 500 or 600 when I hired I know I was still in the field. I think we were around the 500 or 600, but the easiest thing is when your phone and your computer time and your phone time becomes a nuisance from getting your job done. And I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know if that's 100,000 for you. I don't know if that's 500. I don't know if that's million. Just like Brassfield said, he does a commercial. He has, 26 customers that make up the majority of his business or whatever it is. I don't know the exact numbers, but so he doesn't have a lot of interaction to where we have over 6,000 customers that are constantly calling us all day, every day. We right now we're screening, 600-700 calls a day, like inbound and outbound. We're busy. Like we have 6 people over there just on the phones. So when you're saying like, when do you hire your first one, it was off of when you don't have the time to do what you need to do, and you need to have someone answering that phone or making those phone calls or answering those emails or adjusting the schedule or whatever that means. That's when you hire your first person to sit behind a desk.
I agree. So I'm just doing the quick math, and this is something that people are like, well, I did it this time. I did it this time. So I took Brassfield's example, 250 customers times, let's just say average customer is $2,000 a year because you do mowing 20 times a year, blah, blah, blah. So each client's worth about $2,000. Say the weed and fert side. So you're going to have 250 customers to do about $500,000 in revenue, right? Simple math.
Okay.
Now, let's just say you're doing pest control, you're doing fertilization, weed control. The average contract value is $600 to $700. You're going to need 800 clients to that same boat revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So again, it all goes back to the business model that you're trying to run. Can you manage 800 clients by yourself at this point? Probably
right.
not.
You can't.
Can Brassfield? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and see, it's funny because Brandon's company is about revenue-wise almost exactly double what mine is.
Yeah.
And he's getting 600 phone calls a day. We're getting about 35. And then we're getting about 35 emails. So, but I also think we only have about 400 customers where you have 6,000.
Right.
Yeah, a little over that.
So do you guys hire someone in-house day one, or do you guys hire a service company for you? What are you guys doing?
So when I hired a CRM, a service company, it was not an option. Like, Pink Collars or whatever all of them are.
We got to give John a shout out, I think.
Yeah. So I
call boss.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't think of it. Yeah. So I actually before I hired my first CRM, I talked to Nikki at Call Boss, and that was when they were still kind of like in their figuring it out phase. And she was like, I'm going to put you on a waiting list, but we're not quite like, we have like 4 or 5 customers right now. And, they were just getting things started, and we ended up hiring a CRM. But I think it would have been interesting for me to have used them first, because the problem is when I actually hired a CRM, I didn't know how to train them. I didn't know what their actual job description was and what it should be, and like what they actually would do, other than know, because I never actually sat at the desk and trained someone to do that, because I was always doing it out in the field, taking the notes on my phone, and then dealing with it at night once everything got done. So I probably would have went back to a Call Boss situation, so that way they could have even trained me to figure out what a CRM did. And I probably would have paid them, but at $300,000 revenue, $350,000 of the revenue. Sorry. I feel like if you hired a Call Boss, it would be a pretty cheap way to get you a CRM, because you're not quite ready for one yet.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it, actually. If I'm hiring a CSR and I'm like, okay, well, the phone's not ringing a ton, but it's taking up a lot of my time, would it be best to have them? Because they know Service Autopilot or Pest Routes we're using. A lot of those, they know how to use them, so they're sending out your estimates immediately. Maybe they're not so great at closing like you are, because you know everything about your company. They're only going to know so much about your company, right? but there's at least answering the phones. I think that's part of it, so it's a good way to look at it for sure.
Yeah, even the fact to answer the phone, taking the lead, making you a note saying they want an estimate for lawn care, even if they're just doing that, then you can like make sure that your schedule is empty from 3 to 5 o'clock in the evening to go back and actually, download all that information and get that rolling.
Yeah, and let's just say you don't have a CRM at this point or anything. You could easily make a form that they could fill out that would automatically, they fill out the form and just goes to your email and follow up with them. There's simple ways to do
just make a Google form or something.
Yeah. Just have them fill out the Google form and just have them fill it out. Have it go right to your email. At least then you have their first name, last name, phone number, email. That's super important.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Brandon? You hiring someone in-house or are you hiring a service?
Man, I prefer in-house. I've never hired a service. I feel like there's too many moving parts. I'd rather hire. I would, if I was out in the field and I had to hire a CSR, I'd probably hire the CSR to sit in the passenger seat next to me and work with me for 5-10 days. And with a laptop, with a hotspot, and us, while I'm spraying the yard or mow or whatever I'm doing, and get them kind of acclimated and trained if I have to go out in the field, and then I would do that. But I have a different mindset. I'm more of an office mindset, to where, Jason's more of a field mindset. He loves operations. He loves being in the field. I'd rather be in the office. I'd rather be visionary, overseeing everything, training everyone, getting it all lined out. I love SOPs. Like that's kind of my thing. I enjoy teaching, training. I don't enjoy manually doing the work anymore. So, I'd figure out how to bring the person in and train them myself.
Love it. So if you're not in the field at this point, you just got out of the truck, you just hired a CSR, right? What are you doing with your time now? Where is your time spent?
Me, marketing, trying to grow the company, teaching, training, growing, trying to figure out what the next 2 years looks like, 5 years, 10 years. We add in a truck, we order in a truck, we add more technicians or hiring. Do we have any upsells that we can do? Any extra services that we can offer these people? Any extra training that I can do to offer this to make more revenue stream?
That's the next question is how can I increase my revenue?
Yeah, so that would be it. I wouldn't just sit around. I'd be pacing, trying to figure out the next move. Mm-hmm. What's the next move in this company? If they've got all that going, and we're only offering one service or two services, like if I'm just mowing or just spraying, like what's my next revenue stream? Where are we going to go with this? How can I pick, if we only picked up X number of customers this year, how can I pick up double next year? Like it's just a constant projection for me.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you said, what's your next move? That's super awesome.
Yeah, that's always what I think. That's just me daily. What's my next move? Where are we going next? How am I going to make more profit, more money? How my COGS going to look better? Like it's just, my financials. How am I going to make my employees happier? How am I going to make my customers happier? Like it all correlates. It's all one thing.
Yeah. There's actually a term that says you'll never reach your goal that you never set. And I would even say no matter what size of company you are, you need to at least have some sort of goals, personal and business, that you're going to achieve in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. For me, I do focus a lot more on the 1 year, and I know you guys focus more on the 3 and 5 year. For me, that's because I'm still kind of wearing too many hats that I need to get off of. But I've been dropping hats one at a time. So this year my main day-to-day is sales. I'm still doing most of the sales, but now I'm actually putting a process in place. And so that I'm hoping a year from now, I can have someone actually take over a large percent of the sales, or even have an addition to, because like if I can't get to as many as that come in, because eventually you'll have to have multiple salespeople if you want to keep hitting your goals. So, set yourself some goals and
and
keep them.
obviously we set our 5-year goals or 3-year goals, but obviously we're more focused on our 1-year goals, and what daily activity do we have to do every single day to hit those goals, right? So we focus on 5-3, but mainly focus on 1-year goals for now. But you brought up a good point in that what you said. You were talking about like creating some SOPs. At what point in the business did you say, hey, we should probably start creating some? Do you wish you would have done it sooner? Or do you think you're at a good spot now to implement those because they have changed so many times before that? What do you guys think on that?
Define SOP for me.
Like a standard operating procedure.
Oh, okay.
Like how to do a specific job, whether it's in the office, answering phones, a script, or doing operations, how to spray a yard, how to do aeration, whatever those things, how to spray a house, how to do a bed bug treatment. Like, do you guys wish you did it sooner, or because the business has evolved so much that it's better off to do them when you get a little bit bigger?
I mean, obviously, we all, from the beginning, we trained it, never put it. Here's how we want things done. Here's how it should be done. We started from the very beginning doing that. But now we're just more focused on, because we have so many employees, that it has to be written down. It has to be trained, has to be retrained and retrained and retrained and retrained. So that is correct. But to say that SOP is the same today that it's going to be 5 years from now, no, it's not. We're going to have a better way, a new way, an easier way, an extra service that's going to be thrown in the middle of that. There's going to be something that we're going to have to redo, readjust, and move on. So what we have now, obviously is a template, but we do have everything documented now, from office, from taking a phone call on our onboarding team, to our CRM, to all of our technicians, to the trainers who train the technician. We have all of those process documented. It's a big manual that's been made now. But from day one, no, I'm not going to write it down to my technician who's riding passenger for me. I'm just going to keep putting it in his head, putting it in his head, putting it in his head, putting it in his head. And then one day when I have the time, then I'm going to start document it so that he can make sure that he has a checklist for who he's training.
Brassfield?
The process of procedures, we have a book, and I think we've all heard the term that it's a living, breathing document because it evolves over time. Because eventually, your trainer, you are the trainer, then you actually have to train the trainer, and then the trainer has to train other people. And then eventually those people are the trainers, the other trainers. So you have to make sure that things aren't getting lost in translation. But even as the world turns and equipment changes, and it's even like if you have a video that's 5 years old, and let's just say your riders didn't have chokes and stuff, or they had chokes on them then, and now they're all fuel injected. And just like even going through the process of understanding how that works, or if there's a problem in the field is completely different than what it was 5 years ago. Not even talking about the actual way the grass is mowed at all. Even for us, like switching from, we've lost all but 2 trailers, and we have 6 or 7 non-trailer vehicles, and all that process is now completely different than it was 5 years ago. So I would also say that, every year you really need to kind of thumb through it and even figure out how you need to update it.
Yeah, that was good. And same with us. Like, we have all of our SOPs. We've had them for a while, but then as we niche down into specific services, those just got better and better and better. And now we just train out those constantly. And yes, they evolve. Yes, there's new products that come out, so we have to change them. But they're, like I said, they're a living, breathing document that's there with the company, that onboards people, that onboards your client, that onboards your internal clients, which is your employees. You got to treat them all that same way. Train them all from the day one that they start with you. Like our guys, like our sales guys, they know like our pitch and how to do everything before you even come in. So whether you guys are using, a platform that trains them for the, for the first 2 days in the office, I don't know, there's training wheels out there. There's all kinds of different stuff that's out there. You goofballs. So going back to the original question though, how can I increase my revenue? What are you guys going to do if you're like 150, 200,000, maybe $500,000, and you're just trying to grow. What are you guys trying to do to increase your revenue? I get this one a lot.
I mean, for me, this is when it all goes back to the goals. So, like, we have basically 7 months of hardcore selling. So let's just say I wanted to grow by, $500,000. Then I know that I basically need to sell $70,000 worth of work a month in addition to the existing work if I have 0 churn. So you're always going to have a little bit of churn. So basically, if I want to grow by $500,000, so then you kind of like, okay, well then how do I grow by, let's just say 50,000 because it's easy, $50,000 in 30 days. How do I do that? Then you figure out which marketing you want to do. You figure out what services you want to offer. Like for us, we're really trying to push to grow our sprinkler division this year. We're not trying to grow lawn care this year. And we're actually trying to up our landscaping this year. So our goals are set more based off of those. So we figure out which area we want to push those to, and then we kind of backtrack how to fill that money, fill those slots.
What are you doing to try to sell an additional $70,000 in revenue? What are you doing on
Are you talking about marketing itself?
Yeah, like what's your daily activities doing trying to grow the customer base?
So for me, I don't do marketing like you guys do. Between our trucks and our signs, and for me, I'm reaching out to more commercial properties, or I'm reaching out to property management companies. I'm reaching out to pool companies. When they put in a pool, they usually tear up a whole backyard. They tear up the sprinklers. They tear up the sod. So I'm reaching out to people like that. Yeah, we're still making Facebook posts. We're still doing social media posts. We're still doing the stuff like that. But we're investing our more time into relationships with people that would then get us jobs.
What was your ad spend last year?
I'd say
$12.
So my entire marketing budget last year, including wrapping trucks, we spent about $6,000, and we grew $500,000 in revenue.
Incredible, unreal. And
but
look at the other side of it, Brandon. How much did you spend last year?
I think it was close to about 100,000.
Yeah. Out of
and we grew $1 million in revenue.
And does that include wrapping your trucks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's everything.
And Brandon,
I just want to be specific for someone that's listening, that wrapping your trucks, yard signs, business cards, put in a banner.
All goes into the marketing category.
All goes marketing budget.
So
yeah, and I don't think we're going to spend that much this year. Yeah, last year was me pushing to see if I could get a different answer. And so this year we're redoing a couple of things. So we're not going to spend that much. We're more refined.
Brandon, where does most of your growth come from? I know the answer, but where do you see the
yard signs?
Yep, pretty incredible. Like what majority of your leads that come in on a daily basis are from yard sign? And what does your yard sign kind of look like?
I mean, I'd say 6 or 7 out of every 10 customers. And it's just basic.
Yeah.
Name, phone number, email. We got a little QR code on it now, so that people can go to our e-commerce site and purchase from there. But it's just a very basic sign. But I mean, when you go in a neighborhood and we have 50, 60, 70 yards in one neighborhood and all of them have our sign, it's really easy to pick up their 15, 20, 30 neighbors. So, we'll start out the year with 50 houses in a neighborhood, and 4 months later we have 150 houses in that neighborhood. it just kind of escalates.
Yeah, and does your dyeing the lawns blue help with that too? Like, is there
Yeah,
other
we use
companies
the
that do it?
tracker dye, and we use tracker dye and pre-emergent. Now, I mean, obviously, like, the tracker dye's down plus the sign. It's a attention grabber for sure.
Absolutely. I like
But
that.
we also have branded trucks. We have really, really nice trucks, nice equipment. All our guys are always in uniform. Like, it's just, it all kind of matches. So it's not just the dye and the sign.
Yeah, if you have
You'd be surprised how many people don't wash their trucks. Like I don't care if it has some dirt on stuff, but like if it's like covered with like, let's just say even like brake dust all over the tires, and it looks like you got like duct tape holding your window and stuff. I mean, like those little things people notice when you're driving to the intersection. Like I'm not saying you need to have $100,000 truck either. I actually think it does the opposite effect if you have $100,000 truck. You know what I mean? Like a F-250 Platinum or whatever ridiculous thing. But I mean, just like a clean look, like for any of your vehicles is going to be, if someone has sideswiped your truck, I would probably get it fixed.
I laugh because how many times have we seen a Ford Lightning pulling a lawn care trailer?
Or a lifted F-250 with like a dump trailer. Like that happens all the time. But no, like, I mean, that's a good thing you brought up. Like, we wash our trucks twice a week.
Yep. So
our trucks get, before they pull into the refill bay, they get washed twice a week.
Same thing here. So one office, we have, the pressure washer and a hose set up with a bucket with a brush every single day when they come home or back to the office. They're supposed to wash and put away. If they're pest control trucks and they're, they don't come to the shop, they just stay at their house, that they're required every single Friday to take the card because they have a gas card, but they can get gas and or they can get a car wash. Every Friday they have to go get a car wash. It's the simple things like that go a long way, though. Do you guys use? You guys are set up differently than I am. Do you guys use credit cards, gas cards, or do you have gas on site?
Yeah, we're both gas on site. We keep diesel and unleaded here on site, and so that way we eliminate the credit cards bouncing around, getting incorrectly used. So we only have management that has an actual credit card. They're usually buying materials and other things like that.
Brandon?
So we just recently got fuel on site about 2 years ago. And the reason being is because every day after our morning huddle, we had about 16 trucks at the time running all the one to the gas station 2 miles away. And it looked like a parade of all of our trucks, which actually helped with marketing some. But we just overtook the local gas station, and it was a pain. And then, one credit card only worked pumps or something. So we had to have a guy go in and say, turn on this pump, this pump, this pump. And it was just, it was a mess. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to get gas on the site. We're in a facility where we have, it's all fenced in. So we were fortunate enough to get that, and it's worked great. So when our guys pull in every day, the gas is right next to the dumpster. They gas up, they throw their trash in the dumpster, pull around. If it's a wash day, they wash, pull through the bay, refill their trucks with chemical and fertilizer, and then pull them in and park them. It's it's an SOP, if you will. It's just that's how we do it.
Yep. And I've done both ways, so I have experience in both. We've always in the past had gas on site, which is great. But then as our model changed a little bit and people were keeping service trucks home, didn't have to have a big shop. They could kind of be spread out. We just got them all fleet cards. Fleet cards match the vehicle. The vehicle matches the person's ID. Like, they have to have their ID. They have to have the fleet card. They have to track mileage every single time they do it. So we like it that way. So again, I've had gas delivered. I like that way too. You're always in fear of, is someone stealing your gas at night? Like, I've been there, done it. I know you guys probably both have cameras, I'm assuming, at your shop. Like, that look just at the gas pumps, I'm sure. It's just one of those. It's just one of those things. Like, yeah, they can do fraud on the credit card a little bit harder. But then, like I said, at the shop, it was hard to say too. Like, you just never know, So let's step up our game a little bit. So let's go to talking about a little bit bigger companies. I feel like that was a lot of it directly related to smaller companies. Let's go when to hire like your first real like operations manager. What revenue do you think you guys are doing that at this point? Do you think you guys wish you'd have done it sooner, or do you guys feel like you wish you would have waited a little longer?
I think I was closer to the 2 million mark when we hired ours. I don't know exactly. Maybe 1.5. But we didn't like hire him from outside. He started, on the phones with us here and moved up into that position. But I was running that, and I ran operations until I couldn't run it anymore, until it was overtaking me, and then I started slowly giving him more and more and more and more work until he finally, was taking 100% of that work. So I don't know a perfect answer for that. I guess it just depends on what you enjoy doing. And for me, I enjoyed it, and so I did it until I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I would probably say that I am still filling that role. I've let small pieces of this go. We do have a materials manager and we have a field manager, but none of them actually have taken over operations. I will say that my office manager probably does 25% of the operations of the business, and then I do the other 75%. But the logistics of the landscaping, I haven't quite figured out a process to give that over, because like you have to think about, for us, if we're taking a skid steer to a job site, well, we only have 2 of them. We need to make sure that they're on the correct job sites, and we need to make sure that the materials are there. We have to make sure that the conditions of the land are okay for the skid steer. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I'm letting go on that yet, because just not quite sure how. Now, my plan is right now is that the lawn care side will be completely gone off of me over the course of this summer. The lawn care, weed control, sprinklers, stuff like that, where I would just continue managing the landscaping side until I figured out kind of how to get someone into that position. So for someone as the actual type of job of operations manager, I'd say we're probably $1 million away from having that completed, which in my opinion is 2 years from now, to have that like where it's out of my hands altogether. Yeah. Could it be sooner? Probably so, but I'm still a micromanager bottleneck in the company, and that's something I have to mentally work on over time, and I've gotten substantially better, I think you guys know, but it's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Didn't we learn that this weekend? Micromanage till you trust.
Yep. Micromanage until you trust.
That's what micromanage till you trust. That was something that was said this weekend. That was something I really kept.
Yeah, because I always said that micromanaging is a bad term to use. I always looked at it as a bad term, where he's like, it's a great term. I'm going to micromanage until I trust you, whether that's 6 months or 2 years. There was no time frame attached to it. As long as you knew that he could trust you, that was all he needed to do, Brassville, you're really, really good at operations, so I can see you not wanting to get out of that role at some point too. So do you think that you'll stay in that role and you'll hire someone to take your job?
It's funny because I've always kind of been the visionary of the company and the operations and stuff like that. And one thing we've actually discovered the past couple months is that my wife leads a very active role in our business. She is, I actually call her the CEO, not me. And I think she steps back where she can make a little bit better visionary decisions than I can for the business, because I'm so tied up into operations, because I enjoy making things happen faster. Like the way I set up the trucks, like the way that we, try to figure out how production can move faster, is something that I kind of thrive on. Like I'm the guy that, when I used to mow yards, I'd count steps. Okay, that took me 137 to mow that yard. Next week, I'm going to do it in 136 steps. And I would remember week after week, and I'd write them down, and I'd figure out the different ways or different overlap times and stuff like that to try to make things faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, coming from the guy that has a plasma cutter in his shop, so like he can make certain specific tools that aren't even out in the market that he makes for himself to make that company more profitable and faster.
Yeah, I actually was making all of our own rakes and our stuff like that. And I will tell you, like the rakes, the main thing about like garden rake is it's not heavy enough. So I'd make a rake that was heavy enough so that way the guys actually could drag the dirt without having to push down on it. Well, when you think about something like that, you're like, oh, that rake's heavier. But you realize that you're lifting it up takes substantially less effort than pushing down on a lighter rake. But also, like, well, you guys know, like a Toro commercial push mower. So you can buy one with a Kawasaki motor and you can buy one with a Honda motor. If you give a crew one of each one, they'll choose the Honda every time. And what I discovered is that, like, so like one of those scales you need to like scale a fish, like weigh a fish.
Yeah.
So you hook that on the handle and you pull down on it. And let's just say with the Honda motor, it has a 5-pound pull down. When you hook it on the same mower with the Kawasaki, it has a 7-pound pull down. Well, over the course of the day, pushing down that extra 2 pounds all day long actually decreases production by about 10%, just because I saved $100 and bought a Kawasaki over.
Brandon, would you have ever looked at that?
Huh?
I said, Brandon, would you have ever looked at something like that?
No. I'm trying to figure out how to grow my company, not make their lives easier. We just have different mindsets.
That's why I thrive on. Yeah. I thrive on what I can do to make the guys want to work a longer day or a harder day or produce more money per hour. How can I make them have more energy to want to do that? Well, it's also funny. So a lot of people keep their shovels like in the headache rack of like their trailer or something. Well, to climb up there and get those, you have to climb up the bed. Usually you'll have to crawl over a lawnmower and you'll have to get the shovels. Well, why not just make those where they're easier accessible so that they don't have to exert that 30 seconds of extra energy per day? So that's the things that I look at to try to like increase production. Because I know we always want to increase revenue, but I also know that a lot of these guys out here don't even know what their break even is and they don't even know what they make per man hour. And they just think that they're killing a high horse making $400,000 a year, but really it's costing them $47 to make $50 an hour. So really they're just going broke.
That's why Brassfield runs an extremely profitable landscape business. So if you guys have a landscape company, if you're not profitable, reach out to this guy. Fly him in. He'll help you out. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
I don't even remember what the initial question is, to be honest with you.
All right, we're going to move on to the next one because we start talking about financials, right? Next question I have is, how do I price lawn care services or any service? How do I price services to remain competitive and profitable?
So I think that's two different.
Yeah.
So first thing is you have to know how much it costs you to mow a yard. Like you could, like, let's just say a 5,000 square foot yard. And even if you are running a truck, let's just say that you're making $20 an hour. So then you have to figure out that it takes you 1 hour to mow that yard. So it's $20. Then you have to add in, your other insurance, truck insurance, tire, whatever, all your other actual expenses. And then you have to figure out, how much it costs. And then let's just say that they were like, oh, well, I was paying $50 to have my yard mowed. And you're like, okay, well, I'll do it for $50. Well, then all of a sudden it takes you an hour and a half and it costs you $50 an hour to do the work. Well, you actually just lost $25. So you may as well just went down and worked at the Jesus house for an hour and not even had had the business. So a lot of people just need to know how much it's actually costing for someone to be there, because even if you own the business, your is still not free, especially if you're paying yourself $100,000 a year. And I only said this because earlier, I don't know if everyone listened to the whole podcast, but earlier, a lot of these guys that are making $400,000 revenue think that they can make $100,000 a year, and it may not work like that. I can't say that it won't. I'm saying it may not. So
I mean, it can, but you're going backwards. You're not growing your company. You're losing I still to this day don't pay myself $100,000 a year.
Yeah, I don't.
My salary is way less than that. Now, do I take some distributions? Yes, but no, my salary is way less than $100,000 a year.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I agree. Now, for actual pricing, I mean, really for me, we still, talk to other people. We see what other people are charging, and, we kind of figure out how much it costs us to mow every 5,000 square foot. So if the yard's 5,000, we can figure it out 10,000, 15,000, and then we can fill the gaps in between those. But you have to kind of know where the market is in your area, and if you really are trying to match someone else's price, but you don't know how much your stuff costs, I mean, it's just it could be bad. Plus, most likely, if someone fired someone and they were charging them $50 to mow their yard and they fired them because they weren't showing up, you probably need to charge $60 anyways, just because you're probably going to be better than they even start out with.
If there was any hire that you guys could have done faster or wish you'd done sooner, which one would that be?
Did you say a hiring?
If you were to looking back at it, who do you guys, which role in your company do you wish you would have hired faster? Which role was it? Which role really pushed the business forward really fast? Whether that's a consultant, outside consultant, whether that's someone inside, who really moved the needle for you guys?
I mean, if you're going to throw outside consultants, I can name 10 that really helped me out.
Yeah.
Inside the business, I think we went in the correct trajectory that we should have. But outside, you're talking, mentor groups, you're talking, CFOs, or you're talking, people to help you understand your finances, understand your HR, understand a lot of things in business. So there's tons of, outside consultants that really helped move my business a lot faster. But like I said, on the inside, I think we hired correctly and hired as needed.
I mean, for me, I do think that I probably could have hired a office person a little earlier, because I think I would have gotten more done in the field if I would have lost the phone a little earlier. As for someone in house, and I would probably say that the second thing was probably for us would be a mechanic. So we probably hired a mechanic at 1.2, and before then I was doing 80% of the mechanics, and I also know that's different because a lot of people don't do their mechanics, but that's a whole nother story. I will say I enjoy the mechanic side of it, but anyways, I think that it could have gotten us a little faster. It would have taken more off my plate earlier if we'd have hired a mechanic earlier.
And for me, my answer would be pretty simple. You guys would probably laugh, but it would be a sales guy or a sales manager. Getting someone in there way faster.
Leader.
Sales leader, just in there faster.
Yep.
To start teaching us on the sales side, because we were so focused on the operation side and building it that we forgot about the sales side. And not sales that come in, right? Not leads, pretty easy to answer, but actively pursuing new sales,
knocking doors and
whatever that
meeting,
thing is. Yeah.
Shaking hands.
Yep.
And
yeah. And I feel like I missed the boat, honestly, for the first 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're still at this point, we don't even have a sales leader in house. we have a lot of onboarders, but we don't have a sales leader, and we're fixing to transition to that. So I guess now that you bring it up, yeah, it would be nice to have someone that had that position with our company.
Yeah. Do you hire an operation manager first, or do you hire a sales manager first?
I mean,
I'd say it
if you're
depends
asking
on
me
what-
if I started all over, I guess either one of them, honestly, because I would take one and they would take the other. You know, like it would just take
Yeah.
that hat off me.
Yeah.
So obviously I started with sales and operations. I started this company myself. So either one, just depending on the person that walked through the door and what their mindset was. If I had someone that was really, really good at sales leadership, then I would have probably taken over the operations, and I would have started training it out to move on to someone else.
Yeah, and I mean, really, it just depends on what you like and what you don't like about your job. That's really the seat you should probably fill the first.
Yeah.
So you can write down all the things that you actually do, and then you can, on a scale from 1 to 5, put 5 for things that you like and put 1 for things you don't like. And those are probably the positions you need to fill first. But I also will say, when talking about a salesperson, is it also depends on how fast you want to go. My thing is that I don't want to go as fast as you guys do. Jonas, you want to go to the moon. I really want to get to a sweet spot of, 5 or 7 million. And I think that I'm like, that's as big as what I think that my company, like I would want it to be. Now, when I get to 5 million, I might say 10 million. I might say 20 million, but like you guys are pushing to go to the moon. So this also leads back to, what do you want? What is your 5-year goal? What is your 10-year goal? There's a lot of guys here in Oklahoma City that are running, CRM, they're running $250,000 a year. They're making good money. They don't really want to grow. They have 1 employee. They're taking 4 months off in the winter. Like they own a job. They don't own a business. However, they are very content with what they're doing. So these answers are all going to be even changing based off of what your end goal is.
With all the companies that you guys have in OKC or anywhere, I guess, how do you guys differentiate yourself from the other competition? We kind of talked about some of them already, wrapping the trucks and signs.
Yeah, I mean, signs, just different marketing. We're answering our phone, like especially during spring, when we have the spring rush, we bring in extra people. A lot of companies like, oh, you actually answered. Yes, we did. So that makes life a lot easier. We're priced correctly. We're the only one in Oklahoma City with an agronomist that literally goes out and is out in the field, nonstop looking at yards. We train our team. We even train our trainers. We bring them in and train them correctly. We hire a certain style and type of person that has really good attitude, always smiles, knocks on the door before. That's another thing. We knock on the door before we even start a service. The majority of companies in Oklahoma City don't. They just jump out of their truck and go. We knock on the door. We try to talk to the customer. We greet the customer. We ask them if they have any issues on their yard. I mean, there's just 100 things that we do to differentiate ourselves, and we constantly are looking at other companies and going, oh, what are they doing? Cool. Well, let's do the opposite.
Like call aheads.
Yeah. We call them the day before. We schedule time with them. We, if that day, the next day doesn't work for them, we reschedule for a day and a time that does work for them. Like there's a lot of things that we do.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say, Brandon's yards speak for themselves here in the city. If there's an elite sign in the yard, it's probably one of the nicest ones on the block. And I will say that, we mow a lot of his yards that he does weed control on, and those customers care. And Brandon's been able to come up with a system that is better with finding customers and stuff that care and that want, perfection. And, we actually are not quite aiming for the same customer as Brandon is. Right. So we've discovered our sweet spot is actually for Brandon wants like the A plus customer, and we want the B plus customer. The one that wants it, it needs to look really good. It needs to look really nice, but it doesn't need to be the actually nicest. I don't know. I think our yards are still the nice ones on the block, but you know what I'm saying? Like, but we're not also looking for the people that don't take weed control. They don't care what their yard looks like. But we also don't the ones that get out there and pull weeds every night of the week and like need to like in their flower beds and like really micro lawn mowing. I don't know if that helps. But differentiating ourselves is like we just try to deliver what we promise. Like if we say we're going to be there on Tuesday, we're going to be there on Tuesday. I understand if it rains or something and we come on Wednesday, but we don't skip their yards or anything. Now we may call and see if they like, hey, do you want us to go ahead and come Wednesday? You want us to come wait next week or something? But like we try to deliver what we promise.
Yeah,
so answering our phone is key.
It all goes back to the basics, right? It's simple. Answer your phone, show up when you say you're going to show up, do a good job.
I mean, from the very beginning, when a customer calls us, we ask them what their expectations are.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just plain and simple. Like, what do you want out of your yard? And they're like, oh, I just kind of want the weeds knocked down and that's it. We're like, we're probably not a good fit for you. Why? Because we want your yard to be awesome. We want it to be perfect. We want it to be the best looking one on the block. Well, I'm not sure that's what I'm into. Okay, well then call someone else because we're $3 to $5 higher than everyone else, and it's because we're at a certain level, we'll be upfront and honest with them.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you guys this one last question, and I think that both of you guys have a different answer, but you guys are both really good at it. If you're a $2 million company and you're doing 1% profit margins, what are you guys gonna do to fix that?
1%.
Yeah, let's just say
I'm like grabbing my calculator. What is that? 20 grand a year?
Let's just say, right?
I would say if you have a 1% profit margin, you need to check your pricing. You need to figure out
raise prices.
Money. Do you have too much? Are you under? I mean, you're underbidding jobs to start out with, or you're buying the stuff.
Or you're overpaying your employee. I would literally go down my profit loss and just tackle every single line item and see where I'm at. Obviously, it sounds like first thing I need to raise my prices. But what if I'm overpaying employees? What if my employees are just going to the gas station every 30 minutes and not doing their job? Like there is a leak. There's a flood. Like if you're at 1%, there's not a leak. There's a flood.
Yeah.
You got to go back to square one.
Yeah. If you're at 1%, your entire job for the next month should be figuring out why you are only at 1%. Like you should just like go lock yourself in a hotel room, pull up all the numbers you do, figure out who can help you. Like you need to get help right then. I would probably say if you're not growing, or man, I don't even know. I was trying to give like a number.
What if you're growing super fast? You're still at 1%. Do you stop growing?
If you're growing super fast at 1%, really the question is how fast are you growing?
Yeah.
We actually had a discussion about this at the last conference I did, that we were kind of trying to figure out. I'm going to say 45%.
Hold on.
Okay.
Why would you be at 1%? Because you're paying your door-to-door salesman?
No. This is a landscape company that I talked to. They're a $2 million company doing 1% profit margins. And I was like, yeah, you might want to slow her down a little bit. And you know me, like I'm not that guy. Like I'm gas, right? All gas. But I was like, yeah, you might want to slow this down.
Is he backed by? I just have 100 questions.
All right, but what are you going to do?
Backed by money, or you?
Nope.
Well, here, let me finish this. Let me finish this because this is actually a number that's arguable. That I actually put a number for my company, and I want to stay at that number. So, if your growth is 25% and your profit is 20%. Then your number would be 45 per year. Okay, so let's say 45. Now, if your growth was at 40% this year, and your profit was at 5%, they say that that's still fine because you had massive growth. but you still have to know why those numbers are the way that they are.
So
now,
is
I don't
it
know
a bad
if 45.
thing?
I don't know if 45 is the correct number or not, because I mean, it might be the fact that you only grow 10% and you have 35% profit. But I'm just saying, like, I set a number in stone for us at 45, and like that's the number we're trying to deal. So like if we're having substantial growth, which is what we're doing right now, we're on track for 40% growth this year. Our profits are probably going to be down because we're going to invest a lot more money in people and equipment, and there's going to be a lot more moving parts to have massive growth.
So let me ask
I mean,
you,
obviously it shouldn't be hard to find the leak or whatever, but once you find it, then you got to figure out why. Like if you're not growing,
this guy was growing fast.
and you're okay, well then if you're growing, obviously you're putting more money into different places to get there.
So is 1%
So
okay?
can you if you can sustain it, maybe. Does that mean your paycheck comes out too and you're eating beans and rice? I don't know. Like, I mean, you just have to run numbers. I don't agree with that.
How much does that person grow last year?
I think it was like 50%.
Well, then I think that at 1% profit, they reinvested so much that I don't think it's uncommon. But here's the thing is that they still need to know why the numbers are where they are.
And I think that he does, to be honest. That's why I was like, slow down. Let's walk through this stuff back a little bit.
Yeah.
As he kept telling me, I'm like, oh, okay, makes sense. So, is it a bad thing? Do you slow down and say, stay at 2 million for next year and increase profits to 20% and then go? Or you just keep going? Like, at what point do you run out of cash?
I mean, that is a big problem. And that's the reason why with substantial growth, you have to have backing, and you have to figure out, like, you have to know where that backing's coming from.
I mean, I did the same thing at 2 million. I grew 50% and I still had 22% profit.
Different services, right?
Obviously different services, but I'm trying to think back to what I did. And, yeah, I didn't have that problem. I don't know. I'd have to see what he was doing.
Do you guys ever give up equity to scale? Or do you guys?
I don't. I'm 100% owner, and I don't plan to. Now, like, if you had like a franchise situation or something, that'd be a different discussion. Like if you opened a second branch and you wanted to bring a manager on as a 20% owner of that branch or something like that, that'd be a way bigger question than what we're trying to talk about when we're trying to talk about people that are from $150,000 to $900,000.
But as far as like investors go, do you guys give up equity to investor, or do you guys try to do it all yourself? Again, it probably goes back to question number 1, right? Like, where do you guys see yourself in the next 5 years?
Where are you going?
Yep.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, if some guy wanted to come in here and say, hey, I want to pull 50%, I want to own 50% of the company, and I want to input $1 million into the company, I'm going to be like, holy crap, I could double this company in like 1 year with $1 million.
Would you rather be 50% owner of a $20 million thing, or 100% over a $5 million thing?
No, I understand, and that's what I'm saying. Is kind of like, it depends on that scenario. But like if someone literally said that, I'd be like, I definitely have to sit down and do some brainstorming about how that would work. As a bringing a partner on as a growth strategy. Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms.
I agree with you. I don't want to, like I said, we've been on this call for an hour, 45 minutes. Hopefully people got a lot of value out of this. We can do this once a month, see how it goes. Appreciate you guys being here. I know you guys have plans too. We said about an hour. It's almost going on 2. Us 3 can do this for 8 hours straight and not stop. So let's cut it off there. But I appreciate
give us some challenging questions next time.
Yeah, I would say that anyone that's listening, if they have the ability to like send in questions,
they do. Just send questions to
totally
info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com.
info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. Every time that you guys have a question, we'll make sure that it's live on the next call.
Yeah, and because like literally, and like not knowing exactly who's listening to the deals, we might even see if you can have people send in what their current revenue is. If
Yep.
they have a question, send in their revenue, and we can kind of figure it out. But, it's interesting because the three of us have, like, obviously you're bug and pest, and Brandon, you're all weed control. I'm more maintenance. And so the three different realms are completely different. And I think as people listen to this, they know that our answers are slightly different, but really we're all trying to go to the same thing. But
you're trying to stop.
I didn't say
you're only
that,
trying to get to a point.
well, like I said,
We're going to leave you.
My goal is to get to 5.
All I heard was if someone gives me some money, they'll own 50%. Me and Jonas kind of looked at each other like, well, you want to go with that too?
I didn't respond to that. I didn't.
No, it's one of those things that, like, if you're going to go back to it, like, if someone was going to try to buy a percentage of my company and bring in venture capital, like, I don't think that I could do it, but I'm not saying that I'm not going to sit back and figure out where it would get me.
Yeah.
So, and then I could make that decision.
I think we'll leave this just hanging out there for the next time we're on a podcast because I'll let you guys think on this, and I'll give you guys my answer on the next one because I have a different answer than what you guys probably think.
Oh, was that
already
just
know your
for like part 2?
Yeah,
You're like,
part 2.
Reach out for part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah, I think I know yours, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
God, now I feel out of the loop.
I'll just text you, Brassfield. But I'll make everyone hang out for the next one. Cool. Well, thanks guys for being here. Appreciate it. It was fun.
Okay, sounds good.
You guys are studs.
See you next time.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the Pest Control Millionaire Podcast. If this was valuable to you, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. It really makes a big difference for our growth. And if you do need any help growing your business, go ahead and check out pestcontrolmillionaire.com. We have lots of courses up there from sales to operations. I have some courses there about producing short form content. Plus, we have a mentorship program where you can get one-on-one business coaching from the Pest Control Millionaire himself. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.